All right, perfect. So just for the YouTube people, I'm recording now. I just did a little announcement about for my new students and a little issue I had with my videos, but I have a question in the chat. I'm repeating this for YouTube purposes. A student asked me to look at a question from yesterday, page 22, questions 1 or 2. Now, question 2, right here, this is actually done right here, I think. 38 meters per second to kilometers per hour. Yeah, so that's like a little typo. We didn't mean to repeat that again, so you can see that above. So let's do another one. Sorry, I'm just thinking what I want to do. Milliliters per minute. Okay, yeah, let's do number 1. Again, if you're looking for number 2, just scroll up. Number 2 has been done right here. Okay. Oh, I found a way the other day to delete. Yeah, to delete my questions. Anyway, okay. Anyway, sorry. Just talking to myself. Oops. I did not mean to go there here. So let's do page 22, number 1. I'm starting to miss PowerPoint now. All right, number 1. Oh, okay. Convert 50 milliliters per minute. This is an interesting unit. This is a good one for my engineers. Some of the engineering students will look at flow rates, which means how fast a liquid is flowing through, say, a pipe. There's way more to it than this, but this is a good little question. 50 milliliters per minute to liters per hour. So before I do this question, there's a couple things I need to know. First thing is that there's 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. And the second thing is that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. That really doesn't matter for this question, but I do know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So I'm going to use these two to help me convert. 50 milliliters per minute. First, let's get rid of the milliliters. Let's change the milliliters to liters. So I'm going to multiply this by 1 liter over 1,000 milliliters. Now, I had a student come to my office hours, not really my office, but my Zoom room maybe an hour ago, and we talked about this. Why am I writing it with liters on top and milliliters on bottom? Why? Well, I want the milliliters to cancel. Okay, putting something on the top and bottom means that the units will cancel. So as of now, I have liters. That's exactly what I want. Then I'm going to try to get rid of my minutes. So I'm going to multiply this by 60 minutes over 1 hour. Now my minutes will cancel. And if you look at what's left, whoa, sorry, I did not know I could do that. Okay, sorry, that's not going to work. Let's try something else. Let's try blue. I'm going to be left with liters and hours, and that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So my answer, I could just look at my answer book, but no point. Let's do it together. So 50 divided by 1,000 multiplied by 60 gives me 3 liters per hour. That's pretty slow. Sorry, I'm kind of thinking in terms of like science or engineering. 3 liters per hour is a very slow flow rate. All right, let me check the chat. I have another private message asking me if I can do number 3. Absolutely. Now, I can't do everything or I can't spend too much time, but I don't mind doing this. Not a problem. Number 3 is pretty good, actually. Number 3, I'm just asked to change 200 millimeters per second into meters per second. So all I need to do here is to figure out how many millimeters are in a meter, sorry. There's a few ways we can do this. The seconds are fine. I do not need to worry about the seconds, but what I do need to do is change the millimeters into meters, okay? And if you scroll up, you can see in my notes how, like, if again, you have to kind of go earlier in the notes, but you can see how many millimeters are in a meter. And the answer is there's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. So I'm going to multiply this by 1 meter over 1,000 millimeters. Millimeters cancel, and I will get 0.2 meters per second. Something I mentioned to my other the student who came to the help session. Don't worry too much about unit conversion. There might be 1 or 2 on your test. It's not like, this can be challenging. What you need to do is practice. Try as many of these as possible. There's only going to be 1 or 2 of these, so it's not something I would stress about too much. What I would focus on is topic 4 and 5, where we're finally getting into math. And okay, so I know we've been doing math this whole time, but the order of operations, that was topic 2. You guys did that when you were younger. Topic 3, unit conversion. This might be new, but you'll see this again in your other courses in business. You'll look at converting time. In physics and chemistry, you look at meters and liters and grams. So don't stress too much about converting units. Just make sure you practice. All right, let's get started with topic number 4. I have another private question. When is the test? I don't know yet, but it will be before Eid. The first test will be towards the end of Ramadan. So, and I know that's not good. It's not nice to write a test during Ramadan because you're fasting, you're tired, but it's just the nature of this semester. We are going to have 2 tests, and we can't have 2 after Eid, because Eid will be like almost June, and we end June 16th. So to answer your question, the first test will not be until the end of Ramadan, but it will be, unfortunately, before the Eid break. There will also be an assignment next week. We'll talk more about the assignment later. We're working on it now. So you have an assignment coming next week. And again, there will be a test at the end of Ramadan, which I do apologize for. I know how tough it can be, but that's it. All right, topic 4, laws of integral exponents. This sounds really complicated, but it's basically the laws of exponents. Now remember, the exponent is, I had somebody in the other class the other day, in your class, mention, the power, or to the power. That's what an exponent is. 2 squared, we would say 2 to the power of 2. That's 4. And you can use your calculator for most of this stuff. The reason exponents exist is, in mathematics, you might have a number multiplied by itself many, many times. So like I could write 5 to the power of 4. That just means 5 multiplied by itself 4 times. It's just a way in mathematics to write a number. We would call it shorthand, which means you're taking 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, and you're just writing it simply as 5 exponent 4, or 5 to the power of 4. Let me just check the chat before I move on. Okay, so I have another question about the test. 2 things. We will talk more about the test in a week or 2, but this is a good question from Jahan in the chat. The test is, as of now, it's on campus. You will be socially distanced, you will wear your masks, and you will be in a big lecture theater where you will all be 6 feet apart. We just did this in maybe 2 weeks ago. We had final exams. I don't know if you guys did your final exams. You guys might be new students, but it'll be like your final. And if you didn't write a final exam in April, basically it'll be in a big room with a lot of space between you. Just give me 1 second, guys. There's someone at my door. I was expecting somebody to help me fix something. Just give me 1 second and I will be back. Okay, just relax for a minute. Be right back. Oops. Okay, sorry about that. I realized I didn't mute myself, so you probably heard what I was saying. There's something wrong with my oven, and it's really hot, so I had to warn the person not to touch the insides of the oven. All right. So I have moved. I'm in my room now, just so I have some privacy. Let's keep going. All right. Exponents. So in mathematics, and sorry if I sound a bit weird. Again, I am in my bedroom, so there's like a little echo. This is not normal. It's just I have somebody coming to fix my oven and a few things. Anyways, in mathematics, we often have a number multiplied by itself several times. So like this. To show this, we use exponential notation. Now, don't worry too much about this A and N. It sounds complicated, but the idea is we have a number that we call the base, and we raise it to the power of a number called the exponent. So let's have a look. Oops. My mouse doesn't work because my desk in my room is glass, which never buy a glass desk. My mouse doesn't move on it. Anyways, the exponents of positive numbers. So we'll look today at positive and negative numbers. So this here, I would say 5 to the power of 2. 5 squared means 5 times 5, which is 25. 5 to the power of 3 means 5 times 5 times 5, 125. You can do all of this on your calculator. Depending on what calculator you have, I left mine in the other room, so I might have to run and get it in a minute. But your calculator will have an exponent button. It's tough because you guys might all have different calculators, but during your test, for example, I can help you if you can't figure out how to use your calculator. What I do recommend is in the next week or two, when you buy a calculator, if you don't already have one, get used to it, practice it, try things. So the exponent tells you how many times to multiply a number by itself. But this is where it gets tricky. Watch out for integers and how they're represented. If I write this down, -5 squared, that means the negative is not part of the squared. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. We don't like, how am I going to explain this? Like, if I have like -6 cubed, for example, I'm only cubing the 6. So the negative stays outside, and then I would multiply the 6's, let's say squared. Okay, and you'll understand what I mean in a few minutes. -5 squared does not mean I multiply -5 twice. The negative is not part of the question. It's outside. And again, if you're confused, you'll see what I mean. But in every case, the negative is outside. It's so weird for my mouse not to work. Anyways. Well, what if I take the exponent of a negative number, but I use what's called brackets? Now, this is different than above because, and you can kind of think of BEDMAS for this, do your brackets, then exponents. Because the -2 is in brackets, I'm going to square that number. I'm going to square -2. That means I multiply -2 twice. Okay, so the difference, if you'll let me scroll up. Oh, this is weird. I'm not used to working in my room, but -2 squared is equal to -2 times 2. Okay, -2 in brackets squared means I'm going to take -2 and multiply it by -2. It's really important. And again, one thing I'll mention is your calculator does this. So don't get too stressed about, oh my gosh, what if I forget this? What if I don't know? If you do this on your calculator and you use brackets or parentheses, I call them brackets, your calculator is perfect. Okay, so don't stress too much about this. A lot of this stuff, your calculator does perfectly. So let's look at a few examples. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm recording. So 3 to the power of 4, like I'm looking at number 1, number 2, number 3. 3 to the power of 4, again, guys, I highly recommend, sorry, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Use your calculators, but and enter the number exactly like it appears on your calculator. So 3 to the power of 4 is just 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. There's no negative there to worry about. I just take 3 and multiply it by itself 4 times. So -81. And let me show you something. This might help you guys. The college, I'll share my screen in a second. The college uses a specific calculator, which you guys can get at the bookstore. But, if you're not coming to campus, and I do not blame you, you can get this calculator at Carrefour, probably Lulu, probably Monoprix. But I've seen this at Carrefour in City Center Mall. I've seen this at Carrefour in Landmark Mall. Some of you guys might live far away, so a Lulu or a Carrefour should have this calculator. It doesn't need to look exactly like this, but it should look something similar. I highly recommend the Casio brand. Let's see if I can find a good quality picture. Oh, this looks good. I'm going to open this in a new tab and show you that exponent button. Okay, so this is the calculator I have. Okay, it's called the Casio FX83. This is a fantastic calculator for you guys, for any math students. It does fractions. It does everything. I highly recommend you guys purchasing a calculator, or maybe you could borrow from a friend at the college. We've been using this calculator for at least 8 years, and your exponent button is here. Okay, let me undo that. Here. Okay, so what this means is when you press the number, it would give you a square and a square. And what you would do, say if you had to do 3 to the power of 7, I mean, that would be pretty hard to do in your head, but you would say 3 to the power of 7, hit equals, and you'll get your answer. Highly recommend getting this calculator. Again, it will cost you maybe 100 reals, I think, but it's an investment in your own education because you're going to need this for most courses. The bad news, if you're a business student, is there is another calculator you will need. The good news is you could sell your Casio when you get into the business program and you get into some of the courses like accounting and finance. You could sell the Casio and then buy another one. That's it. That's life. I remember when I was in university, I had to buy a TI-83 graphing calculator, and it was about 400, 500 reals. So a little bit more expensive. All right, number two. Number two, you notice the difference between number 2 and say number 3 and number 4. There are no brackets, no parentheses. So I do not touch the negative. I only multiply 3 twice and I would get -9. Your calculator will do this. Now, look at number 3 and look at number 4. Notice that the negative is in brackets and the exponent is outside the brackets. What this means is we are going to square. We call this in math a square, and we call this in math a cube. We're going to square and cube these numbers, but we're going to keep the negatives. We're going to go, so -4 squared is -4 times -4. -4 cubed is -4 3 times. One thing that's interesting is if I square this -4, the number ends up positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. Look at this one over here. A negative times a negative is a positive, but then I multiply it by another negative and my answer becomes negative. Do not stress because guys, you are not going to do, like, I really hope you're not going to do this in your head. Use your calculator. Your calculator will tell you if it's negative or positive. I don't know what your cell phones are like. I have an Android. It's not the best calculator. If you look at number 5, there's no brackets, so the negative stays outside. I only square the 4s and I get -16. And actually, one thing to really look at, and then I'm going to ask you guys to do a bit of practice. Look at the difference between 3 and 5. 3 and 5 are almost the exact same question, except in number 3, we have brackets, so this is positive. In number 5, there are no brackets, so this becomes negative. Pretty crazy stuff, you know. Math is so many little rules and things to know, but luckily, like I said, use a calculator. All right. So I can't believe it's 1 o'clock already. That's crazy. Why don't you guys try some of these now? This isn't really fair, is it? Because we haven't done anything like G or H or I. So why don't I just show one of these to you before, oh, sorry guys, before we get started. Sorry. Let me show you H, and then I'm going to get you guys to practice some of these. You don't have to do them all. So let's look at H. Now, again, you can do this on your calculator. I wish I was in person or I could show you my calculator. But anyways, you can do this in one step on your calculator, or you can do this in 2 parts. So first things first, let's look at the left side. This is -2 in brackets cubed. So this means it's -2 times -2 times -2. And then I'm going to multiply that by the same thing again. Now, if you look at this, I'm going to do something a little sneaky here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative 2's. I could just write this as negative 2 to the power of 5. I mean, that's the same thing. But I need to punch this in on my calculator. So when I put this in on my calculator, and you can put this in on your calculator, you can do whatever you want. I am going to get, I don't have my calculator. When I make you or ask you guys to practice, I'll go grab my calculator. But 2 times 2 times 2. Somebody probably just put the answer in the chat there. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. This is 32. Is that right? 4, 8, 2 times 2 is 4, 8, 6. Yeah, that's 32. And it would be a negative 32. Okay, again, I'm just doing this on my calculator. Okay, you don't have to use your brains for this. You can just punch this in on the old calculator. Now, let me read the chat, and then I'm going to ask you guys to practice. Jahan, thank you so much for getting the answer for me. So why don't you guys try a couple of these? You don't have to do them all. Please don't do them all because, it might take you a while. What ones would be good? Why don't you guys, A is good. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of the best, if I was a student, what would be good to practice? Why don't you guys actually try, oh, sorry, let me change that. Okay, why don't you try these? So A, B, C, D, F, and G. That's 6 problems. You can do them all. I don't care. You can do as many as you want. But why don't you try these 6 problems? And then we'll look at the answer. Okay? So I'll be back in, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and we'll check your answer. Okay, good luck. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to step out into my room for a minute and get my calculator. Like I couldn't do most of these without a calculator, so don't feel bad. Mateb in the chat posted the answer to question 1 to 16. Let's see, 6 times 6, or 6 cubed. 6 times 6 is 36 times 6. Again, I'm using my calculator because I can't do this in my head. When I was a young man, I could, but not anymore. Spent too long teaching chemistry. Perfect. Keep going. Like I said, I'll be back in just 3 minutes. Whoop. Okay, I'm getting some good answers in the chat there. Jahan says you got them. I'm getting some answers more from Mateb and Dustin and Samira and a couple private messages. All right, cool. Well, just it's 1:11. I'm going to give you guys, some people oh, well, I mean, people are at G already. Just take one more minute for some of the people still working. And at 1:12, we'll look at some of these answers and then we'll move on. This is, if you guys have a calculator, this is pretty easy. Just be careful with your negatives. So 1 minute and we'll look at, check all of your answers. All right, let's check it out. So we knew that this was 216. This one, it's a -6 times 6. So, don't square the negative. So this ends up being -36. This one is -6 times -6, which is +36. All right, let me check the chat. Ooh, somebody did I as well. I'll try. 7 cubed, is that 343? I could, yep, you're right. Okay, so Nasser just did I. Will check that one as well. Okay, D. I love D. It's like such a little trick here. We have a negative, which has nothing to do with the exponent. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the -3 and do this 4 times. So my negative stays, but then when I go -3 to the power of 4, I get 81. Like -3 to the power of 4, with brackets is a positive 81, but the negative outside stays. So this is -81. So for example, this one, -3 4 times, your calculator should give you a positive 81. So just look at how D and F are different. Look at, compare them, completely different. G. Okay, so G. Let's do piece by piece. So this ends up being a negative times a 1, and this ends up being 7 times 7 is 49. So G should be -49. Again, you guys can do this on your calculators. I already did, or sorry, H I already did, and I didn't ask you to do this, but somebody in the chat, I can't remember who, did I. So -7 3 times, this would equal -343, and I'm going to multiply that by this, which is a 1. So I get my answer. Cool. Oops, sorry about that. Must have got an email. Does anybody have any questions before I move on? Hopefully this is not too bad for you. I actually hinted at the next part a few minutes ago. The multiplication rule. Sorry, I'm just reading it and trying to talk. Hard to do sometimes. The multiplication rule we're going to look at next, but let me just check my chat. Oh, good question. So I have a private message, so you guys can't see this, but the question is, do you have to show all the workings? That's an excellent question because I have an answer that it has a disclaimer. Okay, so like this is like the warning before a movie. You do not have to show all of your workings, but if you get the answer wrong, I cannot give you part marks. So my disclaimer is if you don't show your workings and you're wrong, you will get a 0. If you show your workings and maybe you make a mistake, maybe you forgot a negative or maybe something strange happened, you could get maybe like a 1 out of 2 or a 2 out of 3. So if you're confident and you know the answer, you do not have to show your workings. Okay, I'm a little different than some other math instructors. If it's an easy question, if I say how many milliliters are in a liter, you don't have to show me your workings, but make sure you're correct. My advice to you is if you can show your workings just to cover your in Canada we say cover your butt, which means like make sure if you're wrong you might get a mark or 2. All right, great. That's a really good question though. No problem. All right, so multiplication rule. This rule is not on your formula sheet, so this is a rule you need to remember, but it's pretty easy. For integers or numbers m and n and any real number a, this is the rule. That sounds really complicated, but it's quite simple. If you have numbers with the same base and you're multiplying them together, you can simplify this. In math, we call simplification kind of grouping things together. You can simplify this by just adding the exponents. So what do I mean? Well, let's look at this. If somebody wrote down x to the power of 3 times x to the power of 2, well, that's just 5 x's, right? We have 3 and then 2. So you could write this as x to the 5. So all you would do is add the exponents. Like if I had something crazy like x to the 10 multiplied by x to 35, well, that's just 45 x's. 10 plus 35, you could say 45. You can do most of this on your calculator anyways. Just a warning though, calculators do not do well with x's. If it was a number, like I could also go, if I had 2 to the power of 5 times, let's say 2 to the power of 6. 2 is 5 plus 6. This is like having 11 2's. You can do this on your calculator. Okay. When you're dealing with numbers, trust your calculator. Practice time. We're going to go a little quick because this is pretty easy or a pretty straightforward number here. Hold on, let me read something. Number 4 and number 5. Look at those. And number 3. Sorry, I'm just reading before I go through this. Practice with no sign. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's look at these. Some of these are actually very simple. Some of these are actually a little challenging because I haven't even talked about coefficients yet. So let's look at 5 examples here. And then as usual, I'll ask you guys to practice. So number 1, quite easy. We have 5 x's and 3 x's. So I'm down here in the solutions. 5 and 3 means I have 8 of them. So 8 to the power of x. Easy. Number 2, also easy. I have 2 3's, 3 3's. That means in total I have 5 of them. Easy. And you'll notice, guys, let me clear my writing. This is my answer. If I don't know what x is, I cannot get a number. But for number 2, since I have the number 3, I can put this in on my calculator and get a numerical answer. So if you left it like this, 3 to the power of 5, you might lose half of a mark because with numbers, you could actually put them in on your calculator. Now, 3, 4, and 5 have something I haven't really talked about before. They have something in front of them called a coefficient. So what is a coefficient? A coefficient is a number in front of a variable. All right, I'm using some words there, and I'm using a symbol which you, generation what, Z, or I'm a millennial. So when I was a kid, this meant number. For you guys, this might mean hashtag. And I'm not that old. I do use hashtags, but for me, my parents and myself, we use these old phones, and it would be called the pound symbol on a phone, or the number in mathematics. So a coefficient is a number in front of a variable. So a coefficient would be like 3x. The 3 is a coefficient, and you don't need to memorize that. It's just good to know. If I ever say the word coefficient, it just means number in front of a variable. So look at number 3 and 4 and 5. In number 3, I have 2 times x to the 8 times 3 times x to the 7. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, the base is not the same. How can we add exponents? Well, the base is the same. Let me zoom in here. Whoop, whoop, too much. Let me zoom in here. The base is the same. I have 8 x's, and I'm multiplying it by 11 x's. That's a total. Oh, and I have another x. I didn't even see him, a sneaky guy over there. I didn't even see that guy. This is just 1x. So I have 8 plus 11, that's 19 x's, plus 1, that's 20 x's total, and I can multiply 2 times 3 for 6. If you guys are really confused right now, don't worry. I'll show you a couple of these as well, maybe. All right, number 4. 3 times 2. Well, let's multiply them together to get our 6. And the exponents are -9, 4, and 6. Sorry. Don't worry about the -9, right? Like that means something a little special in math. And we haven't really talked about that yet. In math, that means this will actually be what's called an inverse. Don't worry, we're not there yet. All you need to do is add up the exponents. -9 plus 4 plus 6 is actually, and you can do this on your calculator, a 1. -9 plus 4 is -5. -5 plus 6 is a 1. You can do the integer part on your calculator. If you try to put this on your calculator, it won't work. The calculator doesn't deal well with x's, as far as I know. All right, last one. This is a crazy one, right? This is a good practice one. 1/3 times 15. So let's get that out of the way first. 1/3 times 15. Again, use your calculator. That's 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. No problem. Now, I wish I could erase these better. Anyway, let me pick a different color. What color am I feeling right now? I'm feeling green. Let's try green. X to the 18, x to the -6. Add those exponents up. 18 added to a -6 is a 12. Let's go with another color. Purple, maybe? No, I don't have. Oh, I do. I got a nice purple. 3 added to a -1. That's easy. 3 minus 1 is 2. We can only add exponents with like bases only. So what this guy, this little light bulb man here, is saying is, I can combine my x's, I can combine my y's, but I can't combine them together. Like it has to be the exact same base, meaning in math, the exact same number or variable. I didn't explain what a variable was. We call X's, Y's, Z, A, B, C, any letter from the alphabet, we would call that a variable. If you can't remember, maybe it's been years since you've done math, a variable is the unknown. So X could be any number. It could be, number of reals. It could be number of coffee cups. I mean, it could be anything. This is a little challenging, but I would love for you guys to practice. Now, obviously, we don't have time to do all of these. So how about this? Let me do a hard one, and then I'm going to give you guys a couple middle of the range ones to try. So let me do one for you, and then I'll give you guys a couple minutes to try. Okay, first things first. Let's separate all of this into, let's group together our like things. So, I have 2/3 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 3, right? I'm just grouping my numbers. Well, what about my A? Well, for A, I have 1A, another A, and then I have A to the -1. So that's 1, 1, and -1. These A's, because there's only one of them, we would just say 1. All right, what? Oh, that's pink. That's not red. Sorry about that. Nothing wrong with pink. Doesn't show up very well, though. Okay, what about my X's? Okay, well, I have 17 X's. I have -10, and I have -5. And this is a good moment to talk about what another student mentioned. Do you have to show your workings? You don't have to show me all of this, okay? So my answer, putting it all together, I end up getting, well, 2/3 times 6 times 3 is just 12. You can do that on your calculator if you don't believe me. For A's, I have 1 plus 1 minus 1. That's 1, right? Again, if you don't believe me, 1 plus 1 minus 1, that's just 1. And for my X's, I have 17 minus 10 minus 5. So that's 2. Whew. Crazy, right? Not the easiest thing in the world. So let me check the chat and we'll put you guys to work. I have a private message. Why is the answer 2? The question is, why is the answer 2? What do you mean? Do you mean in question? What do you mean? This is a private message, sorry, so you guys can't see this, but somebody asked me, why is the answer 2? Do you mean the x squared or the x to the power of 2? Sorry, I'm just going to wait for the answer, guy, or wait for the question again. And then I'm going to, okay. I don't know. I do have to apologize. I have no idea what you're asking. You're saying why? About 2. I don't know. I won't say I can't say your name because it's a private message, but I honestly have no clue. So maybe after class you can talk to me. I don't know what you're asking, and I'm not trying to be rude. I do apologize. It's just I'm very confused right now. Sorry. This is the one bad, or well, there's many bad parts about working online, but this is one of them. Because if we were in class, I could come over, I could look at your paper. I do apologize. All right. Sorry about that. You guys know I'll always try to answer your questions. So please ask me anytime you have a question. So speaking of questions, why don't you guys try these 4? They range from easy to a little bit challenging. Sorry about that noise. Why don't you try these? And I'll give you a minute or two. Well, I'll give you, I don't know, 3-4 minutes. Why don't you give this a try? I will be back in, like I said, 3 or 4 minutes. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, good luck. Okay, hey guys, sorry, that was a little delay there. I had a student who can't find the Zoom link, so I just had to respond to them. I got 11 missed answers. Whoa. So Mateb and Samira, Nasser, Jahan, Amar, I got so many messages. Sana, let's check. Let's see if you guys are right. I have one more thing I want to do, and then we're done for today. So let's just see how you guys are doing with this. I can't answer everybody individually, but you can check your answers with me right now. So, okay, this is pretty easy, right? I have X, and I have 3, 2, and 4 of them. So 3 plus 2 plus 4. This is a nice, easy one. That's supposed to be a happy face. Doesn't look like it. Looks like he's crying. This is 10, X to the 10, right? 3 plus 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10. Okay, next one. I have X. I have a 17 plus a 13. And then I have a Y, which is a, oh,
Not
sorry.
10, 9.
Sorry?
9, not 10.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. You can tell my brain isn't with me today. And I'm also, I have to add to this X. Thank you to that student who just told me it was 9. Even your math instructor can't add 3 plus 2 plus 4. Thank you so much. You guys, if I ever make a mistake, you let me know right away. So for C, I have 17, 13, and 4. And then that Y is just by himself. So this would be X plus. Let's see if I can do this one in my head. 17 and 13 is 30. So I would have X to the 34 and Y to the 5. I think that's right. Okay, D. -8 times negative or 5. So -8 times 5. We'll do that in a second. And then I have my X's. I have X plus or X squared plus X cubed. And then I have my Y. My voice is going. 6 plus 9. So this is -40 X to the 5, Y to the 15. Again, if I make a mistake, you guys let me know. And I might not see it in the chat. So to the student who just used voice, thank you very much. Okay, E. So I have a -5. I'm going to multiply that by 4 and a 3. I'm just getting my numbers out of the way. Oops. Oh, there we go. Okay, what about my A's? Well, the A, I have 1, 2, 3. So 1 plus 1 plus 1. You guys don't need to show your workings. I mean, it's just A. There's 3 A's here, so there will be 3 A's in my final. For the X's, I have 1 plus 3 plus 1. So my final,
5.
sorry? 5, yes. Yeah. So I have -60. I'm doing that in my head. I could be wrong, but you guys obviously make sure you use your calculators. Put the negative in. A cubed X 5. Whew. Pretty cool. And you guys will see a use for this later. Math is kind of annoying because it's so abstract. I mean, when in your real life would you use this? Well, for the business, med science, IT, engineering, you will do this type of stuff with equations in your course. This could be a financial equation. This could be a medical science equation for like calculating a dose for medicine. My poor engineering students, this is nothing yet. A lot of the engineering students will go in to do calculus. Traditionally a very challenging concept in math. So, maybe not in real life you'll ever use this, but you certainly will in your programs. All right, Hoda, thank you for giving me the answers. Everybody else, your answers look fine. So I have one more topic. It's too bad because I actually wouldn't mind doing the third rule, but I don't think I'm going to have time for the rules 3 and 4, but I can do them tomorrow. Sorry, I just want to see what's coming up. And then, oh, that's interesting. Okay. This is the course is in a different order than I thought, but that's all right. So let's look at the next couple rules. Just give me 10 minutes or so. I know we finish at 2 o'clock, and then Halas will be finished. That's rule 4. Whoops. And we're at rule 3. A lot of rules, isn't there, for exponents? Rule 3. So let's look at rules 3 and 4 right now. Let me check the chat before I move on. Guys, just give me 10 minutes. We'll be out of here. There's a private message. Somebody has to leave now. They have a lab. This recording will be uploaded later. I have to upload the third class, and then I'll upload this one. So if it's not up tonight, it will be up tomorrow morning. Okay. So yeah, if any of you guys have to go because of a lab, go, because your labs, you can't be late. So go, 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 go. And these recordings will be posted by the weekend. 10 more minutes. And again, if you have a lab, leave right now, because you cannot be late for your labs. All right, rule number 3, rule number 4. We'll do a couple quick questions and then halas. So rule 3. The exponent to an exponent rule. That sounds so complicated, doesn't it? It means, like, what if you take an exponent and then add not add, sorry, but raise it to another exponent? Well, instead of adding the exponents, if the equation looks like this, or the expression, we would call it in math, you multiply them. So this is not the same as a to the m multiplied as a to the n, where you would get a m plus n, like that. This is not the same. This is when they're multiplied together, like we're using brackets. So for example, x to the power of 3 bracket 4. It's kind of like the distributive property, if you guys remember that. I'm going to take this many x's 4 times. I'm writing x to the 3 4 times. So I multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. Don't worry, this is easier than it looks. The only challenge is you have to remember the rules. The other rule is, if I wrote something like this is just like the distributive property. That m, because it's outside the brackets, gets distributed out to each of these questions. So look at this one. I love this example. This is a good example here. If I took 2x cubed and I take that whole thing and I raise it to the power of 4, well, that means I'm writing this 4 times. So basically what's happening is I'm going to distribute this 4 into my brackets. So I'll have 2 to the power of 4, x to the power of 3 times 4. Let's practice. Again, I know that this is a bit, it looks scary, but it's really not. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. It's 1:45. I'm going to show you these examples. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to practice. I'm only going to give you a couple of these to practice, and then halas, we're done. Again, if you have a lab, you should be in your car right now. Oh, sorry, Jahan has a question. If the number was, yeah, okay, so Jahan, your question, I just kind of covered. If I had 4ax cubed, this would become 4 cubed, a cubed, x cubed. The 3 gets distributed. Yep, that's a really good question, Jahan. All right, let's look at these examples. I'll just give you maybe 2 to practice, and then that's it for today. Okay, so number 1, easy. X to the 5 bracket to the power of 2. Just multiply 5 times 2 and you would get x to the 10. Remember, x to the 5, 2 is not the same. I shouldn't have done that. This means in math not the same as x to the 5 times x to the 2. Not the same. Okay, so just be careful. The problem with this is your calculators can't do this. So you do have to know a bit of theory. Number 2, x to the 7 y squared to the power of 3. Well, that 3 gets distributed in. So it's going to be x to the 7 times 3, y to the 2 times 3. And you'll get your answer here. So I have 21 x's and 6 y's. Okay, number 3. Oh man, number 3 and 4 are not easy. Let's scroll down. Oh, and there's a number 5. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry, I just got a private message. I'll mention that private message in a second. Okay, sorry. Isra just wrote me a private message. I'll talk to you in a minute. There's a mistake or a problem, but I'll talk to you in a minute. We'll get this sorted, I promise. Okay, so let's do 4 and 5 real quick. Or sorry, number 3, 4, and 5. So for number 3, before I do anything, I need to distribute this squared out. So it becomes 3 squared, a to the 18 and b to the 8, right? So 9 times 2 is 18. 4 times 2 is 8. The only problem is if you were doing this on a math test, make sure you simplify or, solve for 3 squared. I don't want to see numbers squared. I want you to calculate them. You cannot calculate this, but you can solve for 9. All right, let's look at number 4. So -2, I'm going to write out number 4. X to the 5, y to the 4 times z to the power of 3. You're going to bring this 3 in for everything. So this becomes -2 cubed. Okay, notice that I'm squaring that whole -2. This is going to be 5 times 3, 4 times 3, and 1 times 3. So that means I get a -8, 15 x's, 12 y's, and 3 z's. Or if you're Canadian, in Canada, we don't call it z, we call it z, which I hate. I'm not a very good Canadian. I like to say z. I find z really weird. Okay, last one. I'll do this here. So -x to the power of 4. Now, there's a little very important thing here. I'll talk about in a second. Y squared R6. I don't know why we're using R, but why not? So this gets simplified as -x. Now remember, if there's nothing in front, like a -x, it's actually a -1x. If you don't see a coefficient, there's a 1 there. So this is -1x to the power of, sorry. Let me write this a little different. Make it a little easier on you. Easier on everybody. Okay, so -1, that's coming from here. It's -1 to the power of 5, x to the power of 4 times 5, y to the power of 2 times 5. This is a tricky one, by the way. And r to the power of 6 times 5. So my answer, I would get a -1. You can do that on your calculator. X to the 20, y to the 10, and r to the 30. This can be simplified to just be -x20, y10, r30. Sorry about the messy writing there. I ran out of room. This one, guys, we'll talk a bit more maybe tomorrow because I'm running low on time. That's a tough one. So if anybody is having trouble with number 5, I'll probably do, or I will do a little review tomorrow. Okay. why don't you guys just try these 4 and we are finished. I will give you 3 minutes. So try these. Okay, and I'll be back in 3 minutes and then we're done. So 3 minutes and then halas. Two more minutes, guys. 1:55, we'll look at the answers. You will be out of here by 1:57. 2 more minutes. All right, guys. So I have an answer from Mateb for D. I think you picked the harder one just to show me. You're correct with D. So let's look at these answers. I'm sorry, we don't have much more time. Although I'm sure you guys don't mind. Fatima, what'd you say for C? So 8, M12, and 9. Nasser, Fatima, perfect. Couldn't have said it any better. All right, cool. Sorry, another chat message coming in there. Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Okay, so guys, let's check. I say guys, it's a Canadian thing. I mean everybody. So let's check our answers. This is just 8 times 2, not added. So this would be x to the 16. This would be 2 times 3, so 3 to the power of 6. I drew my happy face too big there. You are expected to solve this. So I want you to say 3 to the power of 6. That would be 729. Or sorry, what I mean is I want you to solve 3 to the power of 6. Get rid of my happy face there. Okay, cool. Now, a lot of people didn't choose to answer B because sorry, A and B, I assume because they are pretty straightforward. So C, C gets simplified to 2 cubed m to the 4 times 3 n to the 3 times 3. So you would write this as 8 M12 and 9. I think that's what like Fatima and Nasser and a few other people said. I'm sure Mateb, you got this as well. Samira, perfect answers. And Samira, I'm glad you said 729 for B. That's how you get full marks. That's excellent. All right, D. And then guys, I'm done. I'm sorry. This was a long one today, but well, actually, the class is supposed to be 2 hours, but with Ramadan, we only have an hour and a half. So when the schedule goes back to regular, I still won't go 2 hours because 2 hours of math is like impossible. You guys, your brains would be melted. My brain would be melted. So typically won't go longer than an hour and a half, but let's look at D. So D is -2 in brackets cubed a to the 4 times 3. So this would be -8 A12. Excellent. Thank you, Nasser, Fatima, Mateb a while ago. Thank you, everybody. All right, guys, it's 1:58. I can't talk anymore. You guys are probably done and tired. That's it for today. I'm going to hit stop record. My notes will be uploaded very shortly tonight, or at least by tomorrow, to YouTube. Just remember, I have to re-record the third class. So just give me some time tonight to do that. But everything will be up by tomorrow at the latest. So I'm going to hit stop record. Thank you so much for your attention. Take care. Be safe, wear your masks, and have a great evening.